sort of an opportunity to talk about what we can do for your business and how can we sort of value add to your business with some data protection solutions that Dell today offers from an overall perspective. Just to give you a background, I've spent almost 18 years in sales and sales management, and last 3 years has been with Quest Software and now Dell. And I run the entire Dell backup and recovery business across Asia Pacific and Japan, based out of Singapore. I used to run that same business within India for almost 2.5 years before moving to Singapore a couple of quarters back. So I think, obviously, thanks a lot, Harmeet, for sort of setting up the entire stage for the entire Dell solution. Probably we should have actually shared notes before. I think a couple of slides he has already covered for me, so it's good we can sort of move faster, right? The first one is sort of, again, it's an example of a movie. It's pretty a big grosser movie called Toy Story. And while they were sort of about to release the movie, they sort of realized that the primary content that was stored in the sort of the primary storage sort of got corrupted. And they had almost lost the entire content. It was just by virtue that they had a backup of that entire content, they could actually release the movie on schedule. So it's just an example of how important is backup for you, and backup and recovering data. And that's what I should cover in the next slide. We keep on talking about backing up your data. It's not really critical. Backup is hygiene for you. Backup is a tool that automates your entire process. The more critical is how quickly you can recover it, and are you recovering within your sort of acceptable SLAs, and are you recovering it in the same format as you back up the data as. This is obviously the bottom line. Data is today business for any organization today. But, sorry, I slipped. I think that's the big challenge. The top one is the big challenge. It's about the recovery, and without even realizing 1 in 5 recoveries actually fail, which is a significant size. 20% of your recoveries in a lot of organization space actually fail. The data never recovers. Data never comes back. Whatever you backed up just got lost. And the other thing is that you almost have a cost attached to it. It's a business or opportunity lost for an organization like yours, and the cost is estimated is a very significant number. So the point is that it has to happen. Sometimes the recoveries will fail. It's a question of when it's going to happen. Are you prepared for it? And so I'll sort of cover what sort of Harmeet sort of built on, saying what keeps you awake in night. I think these are the broad 3 things that probably keeps you awake in night. And every organization sort of are challenged by this. One is the amount of data growth, which is no longer called exponential. There has to be a new word for the data growth part. It is growing at a very, very fast pace. You look at your cell phones, I was talking about 96 GB on a mobile phone. It's no longer uncommon. Your laptops now, I'm sure there will be a day when your laptops comes with multiple terabytes of disk space. Your servers comes with petabytes of disk space built into it. That sort of space that you would require to store your data. Second is 24/7 operations. IT is no longer, unfortunately is no longer a support function. You are expected to support the business at every point in time the business requires you to support it. And third is there's a lot of compliance that you need to sort of serve as part of the local sort of operations or regulations that every country need to fulfill it. And then you sort of challenged with this massive infrastructure that you have built over a period of time. So you have built up a storage infrastructure, you have built up multiple applications running, you have remote offices to manage, mobile workforce to manage, to figure out how they're backing up the data, what their data are accessing, how they're using that data. Then you have a virtual environment to top it, and then you have the cloud, the big cloud, and you really don't know where it's going. So the IT environment has actually become far more complex than what it was 10, 12 years back. And you as CIOs or the IT leaders of the organizations are really challenged today to sort of go back to those 3 core points and then manage this entire infrastructure. And sort of building on what Harmeet said, I think he sort of explained it perfectly, so I will not spend too much time on that. But one thing is sort of critical. Every solution within Dell is sort of optimally designed to give you that ideal solution. Be it from a risk of what's your risk of data loss that you're acceptable with, and the risk of downtime that you're there, vis-a-vis what's the cost you're going to spend on. It's sort of optimally designed. So our solutions are actually characterized by 3 things, which I've sort of covered in the summaries, but I thought let me share it here. One is it's pretty easy to evaluate. Every solution that you pick up from Dell Data Protection Suite, it's very easy to evaluate. We are probably the only software that can be downloaded from a website for a fully featured 30-day trial. It's very easy to manage. For example, just to sort of setting up your backup software, from the first installation to the first backup, it doesn't take more than a couple of hours. And that's sort of proven. It's not a marketing sort of slide deck. You can actually test our software to figure that out. And third is, it is easy to sort of own that software. So our entire overall TCO for that solution is very, very competitive to what you're paying for current infrastructure software that you're using in terms of backup and recovery in the marketplace. So all our solutions are sort of optimally designed to get you to that ideal spot or the sweet spot vis-a-vis the data loss or the risk of data loss and the risk of downtime that you're affording to. And again, that's sort of, Harmeet has sort of covered all this, but I think what I want to sort of spend some time on was the first point. I think that's what Harmeet sort of covered it. I think it is very important that our solution set doesn't have a one-size-fit-all approach. We don't have one product, we don't have one solution which has to fit every requirement or every environment of yours. Your environment may be small, your environment may be complex, your environment may be distributed, your environment may be large. But we have solutions which fits in every environment of yours and gives you the scalability and the ability to grow with your organization's growth in terms of complexity and the growth that you're looking at in terms of data sets. And obviously that's the Dell's Dell's view of the data protection solution and sort of ties in what's the requirement today's are for today's business. I'll sort of cut the animation out, but I think I'll sort of build on that slide which Harmeet sort of ended with, the last slide. I think what I normally say on that last slide is that we have intentionally made it very complex looking or very, very crowded looking, because it just shows the scale of solution that we have on offer based on your application, based on the data that you're creating, and what is the impact of data on your business, and what is that you're willing to pay for the downtime that you are sort of affordable downtime for yours and the data loss that you're sort of acceptable with. We have a solution for it. And today, with this entire acquisition of Quest software and a couple of other assets with the data protection portfolio, Dell probably is the only organization which can talk about a complete end-to-end data protection set. Starting from, as I said, from a very simplistic term, it can talk from servers, storage, backup software, deduplication, tape, and then on to IT services from a sort of an implementation perspective. And it's a single vendor approach, it's a single IP approach. So I fully agree with Harmeet's approach of having two vendors, but I will always prefer that you choose me as the only vendor, and I can help you to support him there. And this is sort of the detail out on the product sets. That's again, the important thing on this slide is that even the acquisitions of Quest has been pretty recent. The Quest acquisition is almost just 12 months old, probably roughly around, the acquisition got completed on 12, 13 months back. And the couple of other acquisitions like Appassure has been probably 18 months old. But the good thing is what the R&D teams across both these sort of functions, be it storage, be it server, be it the software side, have done well is got these solutions integrated. So it is no longer two silos talking to each other. It's not that our solutions doesn't work well with Ecologic or Complement. Actually, we have performance reports which shows how best it is with Ecologic and Complement, and it's vice versa. So our solutions are completely integrated. It's no longer two pieces that you buy and then you figure out how they talk to each other. It's all completely integrated solution that Dell today offers. And there's some proof points. So if this is purely on the software side, I'm not talking on the storage side. We have close to 82,000 customers worldwide on the data protection side. And a couple of things which are important to note, this 400 petabytes, though I'm not allowed to, but I'm sure you have guessed it, the top three of the IT search engine is one of them is Yahoo. Yahoo uses this, our backup software, 400 petabytes of data actually gets backed up every day using our backup software. So that actually shows the entire scalability of the enterprise footprint of the software across the entire portfolio that we have. And the important thing is that today we are already 6th in terms of market share within just 18 months of the integration that has been done. And we're still growing, significantly we're growing. And so among actually, just to sort of share an insight, among all the competitors that we have in the market space, we are actually growing fastest in terms of market share acquisition. So this is the 4 assets that we have, and I didn't want to sort of get into too much of details of the product, but just to give you sort of brief one-liners on each of this. So Ocarina, the DR6000 is the latest generation that will come out of the entire deduplication appliances that we have. DR4100 is the current appliance. We will have DR6000 sort of as the second offering in that range. based on the scalability and based on the performance throughput that you're looking at, you would have two appliances to choose from. Primarily it does deduplication. Again, it does both inline, source and target based. So DR6000 actually comes out in the first half of the calendar year FY15. DR4100 is already available today. Then you have Aperture. Aperture is an asset that Dell acquired almost 18 months back. It's a very interesting product, primarily designed on the Windows environment. It's actually a CDP product. It's a real-time data protection product or a real-time backup and recovery product. So it gives you the ability to do 4 or 5 things together in one software. It gives you the ability to do backup. It gives you the ability to do recovery and recovery within 30 seconds. Data recovery within 30 seconds on Windows platform and on all Windows applications. It does replication. So for example, you're sort of managing a distributed environment where you have branch offices needs to also do the backup and sort of backing up onto a central site. It gives you the ability to do deduplication over the line, and it also gives you the ability to integrate onto a cloud environment. So for example, you have your primary backup on your premise and you wanted to create a DR onto a third-party cloud provider. Aperture as a software will give you that flexibility to do that. But again, it's primarily designed for the Windows platform. It supports 1 or 2 flavors of Linux, but primarily designed on the Windows platform. The third one is NetVault, which is obviously the flagship sort of enterprise product for us. It's a cross-platform heterogeneous backup recovery product. It is more the traditional backup and recovery product that you people are sort of used to, and it sort of does every functionality that you would require in a mixed workload environment. The new version 10 sort of comes out. The important thing is that it comes out with a sort of a refreshed, I would call it the word refreshed, web interface on that. I'll share some screenshots on that. The last one is vRanger, which is a very interesting product. It was designed purely from a VMware environment perspective. So VMware environment to do just backup, recovery and replication. And that's what it does best. And that's what it's been doing great for the last 7-8 years now. And today, with the next version of vRanger that comes out in terms of first half of calendar year, it will have the ability to support Hyper-V also as the hypervisor. But primarily it was designed for only VMware environment. So if your environment is 80% virtualized with VMware as a hypervisor and you have few physical servers running sort of some Microsoft applications, you can look at this product. It can do backup, recovery and replication. Even replications across multiple VM hosts over the WAN. This is sort of a roadmap from our software assets perspective. Today we have multiple products defined across multiple segments, depending on the multiple requirements. What we would move into is sort of an unified product, one for the emerging markets and one for the enterprise edition. But the good thing about it, there is this lot of times organizations comes with 2 products, and if you're stuck with one product, you're stuck for life. If you want to get to the next product line or the next enterprise class product, you need to do a sort of a remove the existing product and move to and buy out the new product. But here what we are doing is both the backup software products. So if your environment is slightly less complex, you want to go for that mid-market or the emerging product, and tomorrow your organization becomes large and more complex, more distributed, and you want to move to the enterprise product because the scale has grown bigger, you can do it seamlessly. The reason is the data repository of that backup software that we would use across both the products is same. So migration in terms of data across multiple repository doesn't arise. You sort of, it's in the same repository, and it's storing the data in the same format, so you can migrate from one class to the other class. So your migration is seamless for you. And the important thing is that all the assets will have a unified management console. So for example, even if you have 3 or 4 multiple Dell data protection products, you can manage it from a single console. I will share a couple of screenshots. I can't share a lot of them because it's still under NDA, but I will share the couple of screenshots of the console. And these are some of the roadmaps that are coming through. So obviously the idea is to sort of converge all the assets into these 2 sets of products, one for the emerging markets and one for the enterprise market. Depends on your environment that you are in, what product sort of suits you best, what integrates best with Dell storage solutions. You can sort of come and own it, and we can sort of support that. So this is some of the screenshot I will show you. This is the console that will look like. It's the first screenshot of the console, and it's the first version of the console that is coming out in the first half, I think sometime in February, March time frame. And it will give you all the functionality that you would require within that console to manage your backup recovery functionality across multiple product sets. So again, some sort of a screenshot to just sort of give you an illustration that you can run this entire function. So all the functions that you would typically require in a web-based interface, or if you're already a current NetVault user, you're using that motif-based interface, all that is there. And the good thing about this interface is that it will also have a gateway or sort of a provision of gateway to connect to a cloud provider. So if you're using a third-party cloud provider, you can use this console to measure how your data backup is running, what's the performance, what's the recovery time that is happening in case of a crash. So you can run all this functionality out there. So I'll just sort of, and this is the underlying sort of theme line for us. So we give you the scale and we give you the solution which can enable you to cut risk, save time, and slash your cost. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to spend a moon to sort of buy a data protection solution. Data protection solution is probably the last bit in your entire data center build or your data center refresh. You would like to spend more money in managing those complex applications that runs your business. Data protection solution should be one of those insurance to your business and runs with minimum of fuss, costs you less, and when the crash happens, it sort of performs well, right? That's what Dell Data Protection Solution offers. And that's where I sort of end up. I think it was pretty quick because I didn't want to keep you waiting for the dinner. Thank you. Have a great evening ahead.